Hopefully we are going live right now, and hopefully John's on the other side of the country watching and will let me know for sure that we are going live. The technical side of this is always a little bit of a challenge, and of course the software changed in the last 3 weeks, so we've been learning how to operate everything correctly. It is Friday, January the 3rd of 2025, so Happy New Year to everyone around the world. I hope that this finds you well, and we're just on to, it's hard to believe it's 2025. A friend of mine said on Facebook the other day, how can this be? Because it was just 2020, and we turned the new century just not that long ago. Well, 25 years. So anyway, so we are here and ready to go with our block of the month for month one. I've got a lot that I want to share with you today, and I try to keep these to 30 minutes, and so I want to get right into it. The only thing I'll mention, the feathered stars on the wall behind me, that was a project I had hoped to finish this past year, and I didn't because I got busy doing other things. So this year I am going to finish it, and I have decided that in order to finish it, it's not going to be the queen to king size that I had anticipated making it. I'm only going to make 2 more of those feathered stars, and I'll put those together as a 3x4 set. And it was set on point, which was going to mean half blocks all around the perimeter. And I decided, no, not going to do that either. I'm just going to do these straight. So straight set. So I haven't decided about color and sashing colors and all that kind of stuff, but I'll come up with that. And then just over there is some of the pieces for Laurel Ridge using the spring kit. Those blocks that you see up there are months 1, 3, and 4, and I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. I just put them on the wall this morning in order to see how they looked and what I thought about them. I'm doing some color idea changes. So anyway, so let's get started. You have so much assistance with this year's block of the month. First of all, the pattern instructions are great. They're well written. They're great diagrams. Everything is just super. So you'll find that to be particularly helpful and easy. Lynn also does a video every month for specific to that month's activities and whatever the process is. They are supplementary to her show. If you haven't watched the show yet, go back for sure and watch the show. Even if you have watched it, it's a good thing to watch again. It's also free for the entire world to watch all year long. You don't have to be a star member. So if you're not even sure you want to make this quilt yet, now go watch the show and see what you think about this. You'll get the entire show. Lynn is an excellent instructor. One of the things I've loved is I've watched all of her videos that I've been able to see. I've seen several more that you haven't seen yet. And then I went and saw some of her classroom stuff. She and I do very much the same techniques for many, many things in piecing and making a quilt. So I understand completely what she's saying, and I agree with what she's saying. It's the stuff that works for me too. So you've got all of that. You've got my blog. I write a blog once a month that gives you detailed. Some people prefer words. They want to see it in words. And so I write it out in words and show pictures of my process. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. Lynn's, everything that she shows you, I don't need to show you again. I'm just going to show you if there's tips or tricks or things that I do that might be slightly different than hers. And one of those things we're going to do specifically today is the flying geese, how to cut that little piece when you don't have the magic ruler that really makes it easy, the little block lock. And I'm going to show you that here in just a couple of minutes. So you have all of that information available to you to watch her video. And I'm going to show you, we're going to go onto the site and I'm going to show you where everything is. Again, people are still, I know when you're new and that this site seems quite large and there's a lot, you don't know where things are. You remember you saw something, but now you don't remember where it is. I'm going to show you again how to get into that. So let's go to the document camera and I will show you what we're going to do. All right. This month we start making the 4-patch in a star block. Yes, during the show, Lynn did say we're going to start with the middle block, the center block. Well, that show taped in August. And when Lynn started writing out the directions and patterns and figuring out what should go when and which month do we do which, she's trying to plan things as a reasonable amount of time. She doesn't want to give you the most difficult thing to do first. And this has happened with several of our blocks of the month before. With Color My World, we did not start with that Mariner's Compass in the middle first. No, no, no. We started with some of the houses, the smaller houses. So that's what happened, why in the show, if you caught it when she said we're going to start with the center block, when she actually wrote the pattern instructions, instead, we're starting with this. There are 52 of these star blocks in different colorways if you're using the two kits, either the spring kit or the autumn cut. This is the spring kit with adaptations that I made. This pink is not in the spring. This periwinkle blue is not in the spring kit. I changed those out for my own personal quilt. But there are 52 of these. This month, we're only making 8 of them. And I'll show you in a few minutes where they go. Not that that's important because you're not putting them anywhere until you have quite a few more pieces to make. The great thing about this little star block is that it is made from 4 flying geese, these side pieces, and a 4 patch in the middle on this one. Well, Lynn makes her flying geese 4 at a time, and that's how I do mine too. I love that method. It's super easy. I actually have a tutorial on my blog how to do it the same way that Lynn does it. And so then you have to, when you make them, you have to trim them. In order to make 4 flying geese at once, it takes 1 large square of the fabric that's going to be the goose. This guy's the goose, and sometimes these are called the wings. This was a green in this case. It was a 4-inch square. That is correct, a 4-inch square. It then also requires 4 of these wing fabrics in a square, 4 small squares, and Lynn's instructions say to make them 2 1/4. That does work. I made these first batch that I did with that size, but I found that I like that little bit extra larger, so I'm cutting mine 2 3/8. This trick is something I learned on the internet several years ago now, and I just thought, oh, this is brilliant. I wish I had thought of it myself. And so, let's see if I can just show you here. This square, I said to cut the squares 4 1/2, or in my case, I ultimately cut them 4 3/4. I cut the first strip, I cut 4. I always follow the instructions first, just like you do. So the strip said cut them 4 1/2. That's what I cut them, 4 1/2. And I made my first batch from 4 1/2 inch. So with the 4 1/2, why did I do 4 1/2? 4 1/2 is the equivalent of 4 2 1/4. 2 1/4 here, 2 1/4 here, 2 1/4 down here, and 2 1/4 down here. I can cut a 4 1/2 or 4 3/4 because I want the 2 3/8. One out of a large strip of fabric, a strip that's 4, let's just say 4 1/2. Then, with a long ruler, one that fits from edge to edge, diagonal to diagonal, using a mechanical pencil for me, I cut this line, this diagonal, not cut. I draw the diagonal line from here to here. And then I can cut this in half, and in half again. I can subcut this now back into squares. Don't cut on the pencil lines. I'm just going to cut this in half this way and in half this way. Essentially, you make a cross. And you've heard Lynn say that several times with one of the projects, some of her instructions. Straight up and down, north to south, east to west. And then I have 4 squares that are the size I need, small squares, and the pencil line is already drawn. I use a 1/4 inch foot on my Bernina sewing machine, and I can get a very accurate 1/4 inch by running the edge of my foot right down this pencil line. I don't have to draw the sewing lines. But if you prefer to use a wider foot that's not a 1/4 inch foot, and some people do, you might find it helpful to, once you've drawn the diagonal line, just go ahead and add a 1/4 inch to that on either side with a pencil. Yes, it takes a few extra seconds to draw more lines, but if that's what gives you the accuracy you need, then that's fine. Then just do it that way. So that's a lot of people found this confusing, not a lot, but some people said, I don't understand why 4 3/4 when she says 2 1/4. So it's just my fastest way. My motto is I want the fastest method that gives me the result I want. I do like pencil lines drawn on the back of my squares. The fastest way for me to get those 4 at a time is this method. So that's why I do it that way. So that's the story on that. Okay, so now let's just talk about how to trim these geese. All right. The wonderful, handy-dandy little, fabulous little block lock flying geese ruler that finishes at 1 3/4 by 2 1/2. And again, a reminder, as Lynn says over and over, finished means when sewn into the quilt. This will be 2 1/2 wide and 1 1/4 high. But when you make it, it needs a seam allowance all around. So it's going to be 1 3/4 high by 3 inches wide. So this little tiny ruler, which is very, very difficult to find, the store got all they could get. I think they got like 65 of them, and they sold out in a couple of days. They're not even sure if they'll get any more back, maybe in March, maybe not. I don't know. But it's a great little tool, and I was glad that I got one. And because the first geese I made for this pattern, I didn't have it, and I had to cut it my way, which I'll show you in a second. But it's really great because they snug together. There's a channel underneath there. It holds it right place. You use your rotary cutter, come up and over, turn it around, do the other two sides, and you're done. You have this little piece. We went from this size, which is what size it is with the seam allowances, when you finish sewing. And again, Lynn's instructions are detailed on how to do the sewing. I don't have to show you that. And it cuts down to this little size. So what if you don't have this and you can't get it? Or let me tell you, this puppy's expensive. Maybe you don't want to invest the amount of money it takes to buy one of these for this one size. Well, what if you have a block lock ruler already? As I had 3 others. Of course, they weren't this size. This one is obviously much larger than this. But the good thing is that this angle is the same regardless of whatever size flying goose you're making, if you're making a symmetrical flying goose. So you could use this to trim the top edge. This just snugs right in place, and I could come across the top right there and get that trimmed. So that would get me started. That's one of the 3 sides that has to be trimmed. Once that's done, and I've done that with this one here, I turn it around. And now I'm going to use my square ruler, whichever one you like to use that is good that you can see. The first thing we want to do is place this diagonal line that comes out the 45-degree line, and it says on the ruler 45 degrees right there. That line exactly on the sewn seam, and I just say to myself, this is ultimately going to be 3 inches wide. What is half of 3 inches? That's 1.5. So I want the 1.5 inch line right here. Here's 1, here's 1.5. Right there on I call that the cleavage of the flying goose. And I get this in line. This point is right up here at the point, and I should be able to come across and see that this point is going to hit right at 3 inches. It's too wide right now. We have to trim that as well. But for right now, this gets me going. This is the first cut. Well, the bottom one was the first cut. Now I'm going to cut up and over. When that's done, I turn it around, and now I come back, and now I want the 3 over here where the edge would be cut. And again, you're going to know that it's correct because 1.5 is still in the 1.5. And you're going to be at 1 3/4 right here along the bottom. The bottom one hasn't been trimmed. But so I'll reiterate that again. If you've got your top edge correct, and then to use a ruler, and I showed all this in my blog, okay? I'm going to place the diagonal line right there with halfway between 3, 1.5 right there. That allows me to cut this up and over. When I turn it around, then I trim the remaining two sides, and it'll be fine. It'll give you the size that you need. So now someone on the forum, and the forum is the place to ask questions. The forum is the place to give your suggestions. We want that information. We want to see your progress. Lynn and I are both very excited to see the different fabrics that you're using. So someone recommended, when it became obvious that getting these little one was going to be a problem, and yes, you could paper piece these, but that's a lot of work, and I don't want to paper piece a whole bunch of these little geese. We're making a lot of these. So somebody said that Deb Tucker's wing clipper number 2 had the size, and I forget, I should have looked to see who this person is, because I think of someone named Lori, I think. But whoever did, thank you for putting this in there. I went to my local store, which I thought might have, and they did. I called them, and they had one. I said, hold it for me. I'm coming down there to pick it up. So I got it right before Christmas so I could use it. And I watched the little video that's on the website, and I put links to this on my blog on how to use this ruler. It's the Wing Clipper 2, not the original Wing Clipper that you need for the numbers that we need for this size. The nice thing about this ruler is that it has multiple sizes, 9 different size units. And so it's not as costly to start with as the block lock, and it gives you 9 sizes and not just the 1. So how does it work? The first thing, now I've got an uncut one here, just the way I made them, just so you could see it. Get off that little pink thread. Okay. The first thing, again, we start with this diagonal line, and Deb's video shows us exactly. Deb Tucker, who designed these tools. It's going to come, you're putting that diagonal line on the diagonal. She calls that the ordinal, which is one of those technical geometry terms. And she knows that it's going to be a 3-inch unit. And so this line right here nests right there in the cleavage, where with the square ruler I had to measure over at 1.5. This one has the angle right built in. So we put that right there. You cut up and over. And let me see if I can do that right here on camera without moving it. Up. I probably got my whole self in here. And over. Did I get you? And I did change the blade because that may, yeah, good. Okay. So that's the first cut. It's important because it gets you started correctly. Now you turn the piece around and you put the wing clipper tool back. And now you can see 1 3/4 this way, 3 inches this way. That diagonal line right here at the X is in what I call the cleavage. There's a black X right in there, so you know you have it at the right place. You cut straight up and straight over. All right, so that is cool. It works really well. I was very thankful to the person who suggested it because I got to make a whole bunch of these flying geese too. And I get this was cut with the block. This was cut with the wing clipper. They're the same size and it worked. Here's my only, it's not an issue, but here's my only, issue. Okay. I have gotten so used to the wonderful grippy Quilter Select rulers and Creative Grid rulers that have built-in little grips on the back as well, that not having any grippy on the back, I really had to put a good bit of my shoulder into this to hold it. So someone recommended Invisigrip, which is from Prim Dritz, I think, Omnigrid company, and someone else recommended Hugo's Magic Tape. I have some Hugo's Magic Tape. It's simply a plastic film. You can use it to wrap around spools of thread so your bobbin, so the thread doesn't come unwound. I just put it, it's see-through. You can't even see that it's here, but I can feel it. And by putting this on the back, that helped. You could use a piece of double stick tape, some other kind of things like that you might try to give it hold. When I first used it without anything on the back, I really just had to securely hold it so I was sure that I had it firmly in place. So that's the geese, and I've written about all of this, and there are pictures of all of this and all these little steps on my blog for month 1. The other question I was asked was about making the little 4 patches. So that's these little guys in the middle, these little 4 patches. Okay. The pattern instructions tells you to cut with the fabric and then cut the strips in half to about 21 inches, which is what half of most fabric is. And the person said, well, but if I only have to cut 8 of these at 1 3/4, that's only 14 inches. Why does it tell us to cut them 21 inches? It's simply the way the pattern instructions are written to make it easiest for people to use either a full width of fabric strip or a half width of fabric strip. And yes, you'll have some left over. This is the leftover of the blue. This is the leftover of the pink. And I'm going to make more of these, so I could simply cut more of these individually out of this before making additional ones. That's why it tells you to cut them 21. If you wanted to really be careful with your fabric, or you were using your own and you didn't have a lot of fabric, that it became really important that you didn't waste any, I wouldn't cut it 14. 14 would have to be absolutely perfect straight cuts all the way along. I would cut them at least 15 to give you a little bit of room. When I cut mine, I lay them together on top of each other. I don't cut them individually and then pick 2 little pieces up and put them back together, because this is what we're making to make a center. I'm working on a couple different colorways, as I mentioned already. So I've cut these as pairs. So you can see I've got the bottom one is, we're always the instructions tell you to press toward the darker fabric in this case, down toward the green, up toward the green here. And I put these together and I can feel that those seams nest, that center seam nests right there in the middle. And then I use my ruler and I cut across 1 3/4, 1 3/4, 1 3/4 all the way along until I had these. I want the green fabric up because that allows me to pick these up ready to sew through the sewing machine, and the underneath seam is going down. If you sew on this side, which would still give you the exact same 4 patch, the underneath seam is an uppy, and you're going to hit that, your presser foot's going to want to do one of those little push it down seams all the way. So you want to, when you join these together to make the 4 patches, dark fabric up, which allows you to sew these, and you can see the up seam. You're not going to let this one turn on you as you sew it, but the bottom one is naturally going down. The other thing that I like to do, and I love to show this to people because people think this looks like magic, and Lynn explained it on her video as well, is to twirl that seam. I just call it twirling the seam. To get a really flat center, I like to twirl the seams, and there are several blocks that this works well with, and this is one of those. 4 patches is absolutely one of those. The only thing you have to remember is that you don't get to decide which way it goes. It already knows which way it's going to go. This is the seam that we want to set, where I'm going to hold it like this. This seam is the one that controls which direction this is going in. Since this is going to the right, it's going to be a clockwise swirl. This one comes down, this one goes up, and all around. If I had sewn with the white side first, it would be a counterclockwise twirl. I can't say, but I want it to go up toward the dark fabric. Can't do that, because the way I've done it, this has got to go down, this one has to go this way, and that one has to go up. So it's very, very simple. I put my right thumb down to hold this one down, and I use my left thumb under here to push it up. And it's a flip of the wrist, just a cute little twist, and that's all it takes to open those couple of stitches. I sew with a 2.0 stitch length. It's tight and it's small. It's not teeny tiny, but I didn't have to do anything extra. I certainly didn't have to use a stitch ripper, nor would I ever cut the fabric on either side of this seam to get this to go. I simply just took right hand down, left hand up, and flipped my wrist, and boom, it opened right up. It's magic. That was another brilliant thing that a student showed me in class like 12 years ago, and she was amazed I didn't know it, and I was thrilled that I knew it. It makes for a nice flat measure. The other thing I do with every single unit is I trust but verify. This is supposed to be 3 inches square. And if I did everything perfectly, it is 3 inches square, but I'm going to check each one of them. I press this, once I get that center twisted, my little twirly seam, and I press it really flat at the iron, and then I lay my ruler on there. I start always measuring from the center out, 1.5 by 1.5. See if I can get in there. We go. 1.5 by 1.5. And I can see I've got a little bit of schnibble over here and a little bit over there that needs to be trimmed. And I will simply do that up and over. I'm happy to waste that much fabric for that much precision. I don't have to sew to perfection if I can trim to perfection. So that's the method that I use for twirling those seams, and I do verify every single piece. In a perfect world, I shouldn't have to trim anything. It should be perfect, but I am far from perfect, and I don't want to have to stress as I'm doing the sewing. Slightly bigger for me tends to work well, so that I can then trim to perfection. So let me see if that's everything on there I wanted to show you. I believe it is. Yes. All right, let's go back to the webcam for a second. Okay. And there we are. Okay. So that was the part that I want to show, and I know I'm going through this fast, but I want to take a little bit of a tour. This will be up on Facebook almost as soon as we finish, and on YouTube it's now taken a few hours sometimes, but it gets on there. So, and it stays there forever. You can find those. So I'm going to take you back to the website by sharing my screen and show you how to find everything. These are based on questions that people have asked. Wait a minute, I just didn't do that right. All right, share my screen. Okie dokie, there we go. And okay, so this is the home page. It's just what it looks like right there. I know I'm logged in because it says welcome Barbara. Okay, if it doesn't, it'll say log in over here. So the first place I'm going to take you to is Learn. Where are we finding the patterns each month, and what is on the block of the month page so that you can find it. Right now this banner is right there, so I can click on Laurel Ridge. If there's a different banner there advertising something else, you can click over here on block of the, see, like it moved to somebody else, to what Dee's doing on Saturdays. So block of the month, Laurel Ridge. That'll take us right there too. Okay, so when you first come to the block, this is so I love this. These are called breadcrumbs. Where are you? Where am I? Where am I? You're right here. You're under Learn. The category is Block of the Month 2025, Laurel Ridge. And we look down here and we see the block of the ridge. This top part doesn't change. It's got, yes, the kits are sold out. I'm so sorry. They got extras of the autumns and those sold out right away. People had asked to be put on the wish list and they bought them right away. So they are sold out. The spring one and the autumn one. Then we still have the introduction page, and let's just start with that again. All right, I hit the view button, and it has my blog. That's a link to my blog as well. It's got a patterns and documents section and comments. I just want to mention here, we did some work to change my account so that now I can answer comments here, but this is not the place to put questions about how do I do this and such, the very specific little questions about the month's instructions, because only you see that. Very few people look there, and I don't want to answer there and the forum as well. Please put your specific questions on the forum, and I'm going to take you there and show you that in a minute. The view file or download are the two options you have for both autumn and spring. View file is great if you just want to look them. That's what I look at it. That's what I do most of the time. But when I want to print and I want to save it to my computer, I'm going to do the download, figure out where you're saving it to your computer so that you can find it again. And I print from the download, not from the view file. Some people have trouble getting printing from the view file. We view the file. This is the fabric requirements section is what this is. This is the autumn colorway. It's a beautiful picture. Information from Lynn, her what can you expect from us. This is the same on both the spring and the autumn. And then her supplies list, things that she particularly likes. And then we have the actual fabrics. These are her Marcus fabrics that Lynn has designed for Marcus Fabrics. They are very specific. Those pictures are the exact pictures that are used each month in the pattern itself. So you can match them exactly and know precisely which fabric is being used in that from the kit in that month's pattern. Okay, so that's what that one is. And the same thing applies to the view. There is a coloring page as well. Some people asked for that, and Lynn graciously provided hers. And if you want to, you're using your own, or you want to figure out where things go, try your colors. This is a coloring page. You can print this yourself and color with it. So that's what that's there. Okay, and then the related projects. All right, so maybe back up now. Just go back one. That was the introduction page. It says 2025 introduction, fabric requirements, and coloring page. Then month one is here. I'll go into that in a second. Right here is the Facebook Lives Barbara Black. Right now, the only one that's here is December's 20th that I did get ready. Let's just check on that, having said that. Yep, there it is, getting started. All right. And later today, hopefully, or first thing tomorrow, this one will be in there as well. And then there's the story. Lynn is giving us a wonderful journey and adventure story to go along with this about the pack horse librarians of the 1930s. And you click on this view and you can read it. It's a kind of a diary story, and it's lovely, and I've found it very interesting, and I'm looking forward to the next episode, next chapter of the thing that'll come. Okay, now you have month one. Next month, you're also going to have month two right below month one, and then month 3 and 4, etc., all the way down. View month one. Click on view month one. And now we have videos. The first tab is videos. This is Lynn's video. Someone posted the other day, says, I can't find the video. It just takes me to YouTube. That's where the videos live, in the Quilt Show subscription of videos under YouTube. So if you click on this, this will take you to Lynn's video for month one, and she'll show you in even more detail what I only touched the surface on this morning. I don't need to reinvent everything she did. She's got great instructions for you. Videos, the first tab. Patterns and documents is the second tab. And here you have them, autumn and 4-patch spring, the spring one. The recommendation was, if you are using your own fabrics, that you use the autumn pattern as your guide, because it has more fabrics in it, is all it is. So I'm just going to view the file. This is month one, where you can see you're making 4 blocks in each colorway. That means 4 of these and 4 of those. And here are those exact same 4 photos. They are the identical photos off the fabric requirements page that you can match up. I think the people who have struggled saying, I can't figure out which fabric goes where, all I can think of is that they were using the picture of the quilt and trying to go into the quilt and look at it. And that is not the best way. The quilt is a mock-up, and that isn't the easiest way for you to see. So anyway, her instructions are great. It shows you exactly the arrows are pressing directions and which way to go. Now, another great thing that Lynn has provided that I just can't rave about enough, she had done years ago some easy patchwork math videos for the Quilt Show, and they live in the classroom section of the Quilt Show's website. They're free. They're easy to, they're fine. And so Lynn has put with every month's pattern, if there is one of those tutorials that pertain to this, and this month there is, she's got one on flying geese. It happens to be lesson 5, but you don't have to hunt around and look for it. You just click on this right here and it will take you there. I'm not going to do it right this moment because I'm trying to move it along here. We're at 20, I'm closing in on my time. So, but those are great and I can't recommend them enough. I've watched every one of them. They are wonderful. And as I said, they make good sense to me because that's exactly, she does things almost identical to how I do things almost every time. So you've got the pattern instructions for autumn colors, the pattern for the star for the spring, and you have either of those right there. So that's under learn. All right. Now let's go to just quickly to watch. Watch is where the shows live. And right now, until next Sunday, this is our latest show. But once it's not there, because the latest show is going to be the one that starts next Sunday, you can go under free shows. And under free shows, and this means free for everybody in the world. If you have friends that haven't gotten into the quilt show yet, tell them to go look at these free shows. This one will live here all year, all of 2025. And Jen Kingwell's is just about to go away because it's almost, we finished up with 2024. At the moment, it's still set there as a free show. But that's how you can find this particular watch the show. The show is great, and you can click on that, and it takes you right through it. And it will be there, as I said, all year long. Okay, now my next favorite place is the forum. So I spend a lot of time on the forum right now. In particular, I look a lot, several times, many times a day right now in the first week. I just look to see if there have been any posts made. And there was one on, it's on Pick a Petal, and I'm not going to take you there right now to that one. And again, the breadcrumbs, where am I? I'm in the forum. And I can go to the forum, and I want to go to Laurel Ridge. It's right there. And we do have links in those pattern instructions that I took you to a moment ago and learn that'll also take you into the forum. These yellow ones are what are called stickies. When I want them not to be buried deep in the pages of this, I put them up there permanently. Here's how you can find the fabric requirements quickly. Here's how you can upload your own photos. Many people struggle with that because most of us take photos that are too large to upload, so you have to make them smaller. And that pattern that I wrote a couple years ago now also tells you how to resize them smaller. And then there's the link to the coloring page. The two most important month of the one pattern topics are month 1, share your progress, and month 1, ask questions here. Share your progress is where you can put your pictures and show us what you're doing. One of the fun things, I'll show you this, just rather than read through them all at the moment, there's 2 pages of these. If there are photos, and there would be under share your progress, click on photos. And it just will show you just the photos. See, there's 7 photos up there. And then you can go back and scroll through the pictures to see where they are. So that's just a fun little thing. Then another one that is very, very helpful right now, and this is the place that I ask you, please put your questions here. And this is where I go constantly to be able to answer the questions. There are thousands of people working on this quilt, and I want everybody that if you have the question, somebody else does too. So let me click on you again, ask questions here. There we go. Okay. Somebody said you should tell your webmaster to change this so that it comes up with the latest activity first. Well, you can do that yourself. I have mine set to go to latest activity first. And I explained in the forum in answer to her post about that exactly how to do it. And you can find them either, I've got them in latest activity, or you can go to posts. And then it would starts with the first one and raids on down. We've got 6 pages of month 1, ask questions here first. So that just shows you the questions when somebody provided their own homemade best press recipe on how to make it using vodka. And I've known about that, but I might have forgotten where I posted that or where I saved it to. Well, now I can find it right there. And so there's a lot of pictures here. I'm going to click on page 3 for a second, see if this one will tell me there's been a lot of questions and they get answered here for people to see. That's not the one I was looking for. Here we go. All right. People are asking who were confused about the colors and which one go where, and is it Autumn Ridge Gold or is it Autumn Ridge Mellow? This shows you these are the pages that I showed you from on fabric requirements, and this is the pattern. The pictures are the exact same pictures, so you can tell exactly where the pictures go. Okay. I showed you that. I showed you that. Okay. The only other place I'm going to show you real quickly is my blog. currently, Laurel 1 month, this was I put this up last Saturday because I knew the pattern was coming out. It actually came out last Saturday, and most of you didn't look until Sunday. But Laurel Ridge month 1, and this is my blog that has my pictures and everything that I've just shown you and step by step and all of that kind of stuff. And then there are comments at the bottom, and see there's like trimming and all that kind of stuff that's in there. Okay, there's comments at the top. I've been writing this since 2011, and every single one of those is still right there for you to look. You can sign up if you want to follow it, or just come look when you want to come look. The tutorials, I have a bunch of tutorials here, one of which is 4 flying geese at a time. One is quilter's math, a lot of the same kind of things that Lynn is teaching you. I do have one section on what I've written about my weight loss journey, and when I only put it there separately because people want to know how to find it, and it's easier to put it all there. So I've got over 1,000 posts about quilting, and I have 5 about my health loss journey. If you're interested in reading that, go right ahead. So, and I have a search box. I'll just mention that a lot of people don't understand. Most of these blogs have a search box. In Blogger, which is what this one is used for, that's the search box is right up there. You can type in raw edge applique, turned edge applique, anything that I have written about in the past, that you can search it that way and it'll bring up the posts. So, okay, let's go back now to the webcam. And cool. Okay. To be successful each month, here's what I strongly recommend. If you haven't already watched the show, watch the show. Then you can watch it more often if you'd like. But then each month, watch Lynn's video before you start. There is a video for each one. I've seen the first 3. They are excellent. Then read my blog, because I will have said, as I mentioned, like I prefer to cut mine a little bigger. So I didn't cut, and I didn't want to cut a 2 1/4 strip. I would never cut a 2 1/4 strip if I could cut a 4 1/2, because I need to draw the pencil lines and I want to cut it bigger and draw the pencil lines faster. So I give you that information beforehand. If you've cut everything out following her directions and then you read that, oh well, next time. So read that, then follow the cutting instructions very carefully and read the instructions. Once you cut them according to instructions, we have a tendency to just jump in and look at the pictures because the pictures are so great, her diagrams. I'm here to tell you, read what it says. Wish I had done that on month 4. I didn't, and now I do. So anyway, that's important. But you can be very successful with this. It is a big quilt. We're going to make a queen size quilt all year long, but you're not making it all at once. And it's not a rush to see how fast can you get it made. People have said, but how come I'm only making 8 blocks this month? There's 52 of these in the quilt. Shouldn't I be making more of them? If you were using the kit and you wanted to play around and guess at what the additional fabrics are, remember that the mock-up is just a mock-up. It doesn't have the exact pictures like the pattern will have. You could make some more of those. If you're using your own fabric, you can look at the pattern and see where they might go. But Lynn has figured it out, what's easier and what's going to take a little bit longer. Next month, month 2, she introduces the first of the applique pattern, like the smaller 5-inch applique patterns. She shows it on the show, both turned edge as well as raw edge applique. And she does that on the show. So you could watch that now if you wanted to look at that part again, because that's what's coming. February 1st will be the latest. And sometimes the pattern gets up the day before, just telling you. Okay, you might look on the 31st of January. Don't know it yet. First, I have to check it. It gets posted on the website, and I go in and look to make sure we've got everything right. And then we release it to all of you. So that's just one of the little tips that you can applique is what's coming. I don't want to put any applique in this quilt. I'm going to have all piece blocks. So for month 2, I have come up with 3 different piece blocks, and I haven't decided for sure which one I'm going to use yet, but I'm going to show you in my live and on my blog next month for February the 3 additional blocks that I've kind of thought would work there. Any 5-inch block will go in there. It's a 5-inch space. Any 5-inch space will work. I am not going to give you the 2 of them I did paper piece. We're not going to give you the paper piece pattern. You can draw it yourself. I explain it very easily. In fact, I've already written that blog. You'll be able to figure it out yourself, and you can draw it yourself. Or you'll pick something completely different. It doesn't matter. It's just an alternative. I call it optional alternative block if you don't want to do applique. And I've had probably a dozen people already say, thank you, I don't want to do any applique this time. So that's what's coming for February. I am going to look and see if you have any questions. She did mention, I want to mention about the applique because in watching her video again, she uses Teriel Magic, which is a liquid spray stabilizer. She finds it very helpful. Her appliques are very stiff, and she did it in the show. You can watch it in the show. She actually uses it in her video as well. You can buy that now along with the wing clipper too. I neglected to mention that the good folks at the Quilt Show store, I wrote them a couple weeks ago and said, I'm going to try it. I've tried this. I like this. I'm going to show this. So they now have these in the store. They loaded them the other day. They came in. She let me know. They are available right now, wing clipper 2 for you to buy. They also have Teriel Magic. So if you want the Teriel Magic to be able to do the beautiful applique that Lynn is going to show you, Teriel Magic is in the show store now, the Quilt Show store as well. And I put a link to show you how to find that. And there it is. She uses cut-right freezer paper, which is a heavy-duty freezer paper. I'll show it next month. I have it too, and it's great stuff. I use it for my applique as well. A fine line Sharpie, and then she likes a product called Flexi Fuse for raw edge. And all of that is in the show itself. So you can go look at the show anytime. Just jump to the applique section if you want to prepare for February instead of waiting until February and go, oh, now I need to get this and this and this. So you don't need to get any of those things. But if you want to try those things and be successful like Lynn is showing you, then that's a way to do it. So, okay, let me go real quickly and see if there are any questions. Assuming that I can find them. View the stream and go to the chat. There we go. All right, come in, little questions. Where are you? Well, I thought I saw them a second ago. Let me look. View the stream. Okay. Block of the month, Laurel Ridge. Ricky. No. All right, chat. Let me look at chat. Come on, chat. Okay. Teriel Magic. Becky says Teriel Magic makes the blocks feel like cardstock. Yes, it is a heavy-duty, thick kind of a liquid stabilizer. From the looks of it, you can see it when she holds up her background that she's appliquing on, how stiff it is. So, all right, that's the only chat question that I see there. So either there aren't more or I'm just not seeing them all. I do go back and look at your questions on Facebook, both the Alex Anderson's page and the Quilt Show page, and I go into YouTube as well, and I can look and if I can hit and give you an answer real quick to those kind of questions. Again, the forum is a great place. So, okay, we're got to wrap this up. I'm running this longer, but I really wanted to take a little time to show you the website where the questions that keep coming up over and over again about how to find things. My next live for month 2 will be January 31st, Friday, January 31st, and that is because if I waited till the first Friday in February, that would be the 7th. And by then, most of you are already well on your way of getting done. And I wanted to get ahead by showing you my optional alternative blocks. My blog will go out that day as well. January the 31st. Today's the 3rd, so that means 4 weeks from today is the next live. So, okay, that's it for now. And